Networking, prepared for and presented at the 2017 Square One Entrepreneurship Training Program. Square One is a program of the Center for Emerging Technologies. CET is an affiliate of the Cortex Innovation Community. Square One is funded in part by the Missouri Technology Corporation.
We're going to talk about networking. I don't love the word. It's one of those words that's become so overused that it doesn't really mean that much anymore. Some people consider it networking when they go someplace that has an open bar and kind of talk to a handful of people. If you're a business owner, I would venture that you don't have a lot of time to go places and just chat with people, even if they do have an open bar. There's a scale where even that it cannot get you away from your computer. So I think we're going to talk about, hopefully we're going to talk about today some ways that you can be really effective with your networking, no matter what that means to you or what you call it. How do you connect what you need with other people that can help you? So that's really what we're going to be talking about today. I tend to be really conversational, so feel free to stop me if you've got a question. If it's something I'm going to get to, I'll just tell you it's coming in 3 or 4 slides, and we'll get back to it. But first, I would like to know from you all, when you saw networking on the agenda for tonight, what are some things that came to mind, or some things that you said, oh God, I don't want to talk about that, or you were excited to learn, or that you felt like you needed to learn? I want to make sure that this hour is most useful for you. What comes to mind? What do you say? Oh, I need to know that because I need to do this with my business.
Specific to networking?
Yes.
Okay, just about that.
Okay. If you ask me legal questions, I totally probably can't help you there. Matthew?
What to actually do.
What to do.
After you have gone and you have networked your break up early, and you have all this data or referral sources.
Okay.
And then you're like, you actually have to do something with it.
Do something with it.
Not just go play more drinking, networking, right?
Right.
You can definitely do that.
Right.
And eventually you actually have to do the work.
Yes.
For the business you bring in. Right?
Yeah.
But you feel that after, you should never stop at networking.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
What do you do with what do you do with all of it after you've done it?
More, I don't actually need to do what I got.
Yeah, so kind of sometimes the difference working in your business versus working on your business, and once you've cultivated all these leads, like, do you take time to do something with them? Right. Well, I found when you're only networking, that's what happens. I go back to my stack of cards and I'm like, I don't know what any of these mean anymore. So I hope that let's get to that. If I don't bring it up, remind me. I hope that we're kind of talking about that along the way. Like this is how you can do it effectively so that you don't feel like you then have to go do something with this stack of cards. It's kind of happening as you go. That's a really good question. We can make ourselves crazy networking and not actually getting anywhere. Anything else pressing that you'd be disappointed if you didn't get to talk about or learn about tonight? Yeah, Sarah.
The role of like incorporating the social networking electronically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like maybe how do you correspond it to LinkedIn or your database, or if you use Salesforce or something? Together. Okay. Not sure we'll get to that, but let's ask some questions along those lines and we'll try. Yes, sir.
How about how to figure out if a networking conversation is a good investment of your time? And if it's not, how to gracefully move on?
How do you get out? The bar comes in handy then.
Yeah.
Can I get you something? I'm just leaving right now. Yes, no, I think getting out of bad networking conversations is really important. My overall answer to that quickly is like, don't be shy because it's your time. And there's a couple of very graceful ways to. It's been great talking to you. Good luck. Sometimes you just got to do it because you'll be stuck there for 20 minutes and missing some other things. So you're doing all this hard work at Square One. You're building your business plans. You're talking about your customer. You've got a business canvas. You're getting to hear a little bit about legal. We want one of these.
We love that.
So when you leave here, you're faced with this. And what do you do with it, right? You're right here, and there's probably people you need to talk to. There's probably people that have good resources for you, but you're in this huge crowd, and what do you do with it? Or you're super intimidated by this huge crowd, so you don't even want to go. Like, I'm not even going to try because what do I do with that? We're going to go really old school, the who, what, when, where, why, and how with this model. I know that there's folks who are kind of, bless you, There's folks who are kind of along the spectrum in this room even with developing their business. Some folks are just curious, some folks have an idea, some folks maybe are ready to start raising funds. So that's a lot of different networking. I'm going to try to be broad in some areas, but tell you how to be specific enough so that you can focus in no matter where you are, and I think this will help. But keep in mind that like none of this matters unless it helps you. So nothing I tell you tonight is important unless you can do something with it. So let's make sure to try to drill it down to something actionable, or else you'll leave here and won't have learned anything, and that's a waste of everybody's time. We're going to shift the order a little bit. We're going to talk about what is networking, why is it important, who should you network with? That kind of corresponds to when and where do you do it. And the most important part is how. And we'll remember to talk a little bit at the how of how then do I do it next when I leave. So with this big stack of cards, what do I do then? So starting with the what, I want you to either hold in mind or jot down a resource that you're needing right now, someone that you're wanting to connect with, something that you know you need to learn to do, but you don't know how to do it. I'm going to use some examples, so it'll be helpful if you have something very personal kind of in mind that you can reference as we walk through. So hold something in mind or jot something down. Here's a resource that I need that I think I need to network for or towards. The definition, speakers always start with a definition, right? This is the definition of networking. You can't read it. It says to interact with other people, to exchange information, and develop contacts, especially to further one's career. Hi, I'm Amy. I'd like to further my career. Anyway. Yeah, good luck, he says. This might be that situation that Harry was mentioning where you go, I'm okay. How do I get out of this one? Who wants to talk to someone that's just looking to further their career? I don't. Maybe for a while if you're interesting, but I don't love this definition of networking for just that purpose. It's so one-sided. And it just doesn't feel really good. Who wants to do that? So I don't like that last part. I think you are interacting obviously with other people. You are exchanging information, so you're trying to create something that's reciprocal. But I would venture that you're trying to connect with other people to find the resources that you need, right? You have a resource that you need to find the people who have the resources, whether that's education or potential clients for you or money if you're that far along. So you really should think of using networking as a way to connect with people who have the resources you need. Now this is wonderful if it's reciprocal. I have something that you need, you have something that I need, and so we're creating this ongoing relationship to help each other connect. But let's be honest, at the very beginning that might not be the case. You just might need something and I might have it. And so it's much more one-sided. That's okay. Hopefully your best networking contacts and relationships end up being reciprocal down the road. And I just believe if you always have that kind of open mind towards reciprocity, not to be too like hippy-dippy feel good, but if you're out there to kind of have that mutual benefit, I think you'll do just fine. But I recognize that especially if you're early in your entrepreneurial endeavor, it might be more one-sided, and that is okay. So I think the connecting and the resources are the most important part of that definition. So why would you do it? I think the answer is kind of obvious, but I'm here to present to you, so I will say it. You need something. You're looking for something. There are goals to getting out and talking to people, or at least someone's told you that you should. But there's a reason to get out from behind your computer and go talk to people. And it's usually any number of these kind of goals. And I kind of tried to look at these from what happens in the very beginning, where you're just finding information, you're sharing information, you've just started your company maybe, you've just started that consulting gig that we talked about, and you want people to know that you're passionate and you're a real expert on the subject so that they'll get behind you. Sorry, I have a little bit of allergies, so I'm gonna be doing this a little bit. If you have a product or a service, you might want feedback from people. So you want to go out and talk about your idea, if only to see their reaction, if only to have people tell you, I really like that, I'd buy it, or I don't understand what you're talking about. That's a really good way to use networking. Maybe you're a little bit more advanced in your business and you're looking for a resource you need, whether that is a part-time accountant or a legal firm to do your beginning paperwork. or maybe you are kind of down the road really starting to accumulate customers, and you're thinking about where should I be where my customers might be. So in the beginning, maybe you were saying, where should I be where other entrepreneurs might be? And then you get further down and you're kind of having to switch that reason for networking a little bit. Eventually, you might even be looking for a partner. I realize I can't do this all on my own. I need another skill set. So I want to find a partner or hire a team, or I'm ready to hire some employees. Maybe you're eventually looking for dollars in investment. So there's lots of different reasons why networking might be important. Can anybody think of any others that they maybe jotted down?
Sometimes just vetting a thought or an idea
Yeah.
to a group, trying to figure out if it is even viable, and so you're kind of in front of all maybe potential customers,
Yeah.
People in that space, seeing if it's even something. That's
Yeah.
possible. I've done quite a bit of that.
I think that is a really good for you, because I think that that's an underestimated
It's free.
way to use networking.
Free,
Yeah.
Just talk to one another.
You know, even if you meet someone and you're talking, they say, what are you doing? And you're talking a little bit about your business, you can tell a lot by just how they're reacting to you. So if they're nodding and leaning forward, they're like, yeah, I would buy that. If they're kind of like scrunching up, people have a hard time sometimes controlling their body language. It's a really good tool. If they're kind of looking confused or scrunching their eyebrows or leaning back, it's usually kind of a good signal that they're either not understanding you or they're not with you at all. So I even think it's a really good tool to say, you know, here's what I'm doing. I look like I've lost you. Did I say something that didn't make sense? Or even afterwards, like, did that make sense to you? What should I hit harder? What didn't make sense that I should leave out? You know, you might only have 30 seconds if that was someone. So to test your message and to test your idea, I think is excellent. There's a big piece here of kind of the who. So I know I should be out there. There's any number of people who will talk to you. Who are the most important people to be talking with if you're going to spend your time there? Sometimes in the very beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, you just might want to be around other entrepreneurs. You might want to be at a meetup or at a startup weekend or someplace where you're kind of part of the tribe, right? You're kind of getting in the startup circle and you're just starting to feel your way around. So sometimes that's enough, and that's okay. As you grow and as you get more refined, you might eventually be thinking, you know, I think I need a mentor. I think I need someone to help teach me this. How can I find that person? Maybe down the line, you're actually really needing a service provider. And you're saying, I need to hire an accountant. I need to hire a lawyer. I need to hire a marketing firm. I need to hire a part-time graphic designer to help me with my website. Where do I find these people? I know I need one. I don't know what to ask for. I don't know how much they charge. I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole of maybe not making the right decision. Where can I go talk to a lot of these people to just kind of vet it out and see what's out there? Networking is a really good way to do that. A lot of times, and this is something, because it's something we do at Brazen that I talk about a lot, and you guys get an experience of it here, you might want a peer group. So your family loves you. They're either gonna just kind of say, that's great, good luck, or they're terrified that you've quit your job to do a startup and they're worried you're not gonna be able to pay your rent. So they kind of don't want to talk to you about it at all. You know, you're out with your buddies or you're having wine with your girlfriends and they're like, oh, how's your business? Like, that's so cute. And you're like, they don't get me. This is hard. And it's not easy and I'm freaking out and I don't know what I'm gonna do. You need kind of a group of people that they're not really your customers and they're not really you're not in a typical like corporate setting where there's bosses above you. You're it, right? So to be a part of a group of entrepreneurs is sometimes really helpful. People who are a couple steps ahead of you, who have already found a lawyer, and you can ask them, what did you do? What did you ask? So I'm a big believer in finding those peer networks. This is a good one. And maybe you're wanting to find that in a more formal way, or maybe you're wanting to find people who are in your industry that can help you figure stuff out. So you might be networking for those kinds of people. You might eventually get around to networking for customers. That's a lovely thing. You have a product and you're like, I need to sell it now. Where do I find people who will buy my stuff? That's obviously really different from kind of just being anywhere to be around a startup community. That's a really different kind of networking. Maybe you're eventually hiring people. And so you need to build your team. Right now, we are looking for a graphic designer. It's not my skill set. I don't really know where to find one. So I need to start thinking about, where do I find this person? We can't make a mistake in hiring. It's hard. That's a scary thing when you're an entrepreneur. People always told me the personnel stuff is the hardest in a company. And it's kind of like when you're in 8th grade and people say, oh, time goes so fast when you're growing up. And you're like, whatever, it's taken forever. It is true. Like the personnel stuff, the hiring, getting it right, firing fast if you've made a mistake, that is hard. So asking for help, finding the right people to bring onto your team is a really important part of what you might network for. And then maybe eventually you're seeking funds. I hate to further the Shark Tank like myth, but when I put that up, y'all know what it is. So that's why I use it. So maybe you're needing an investor. Maybe you're needing to bring on someone to work for equity, as we were talking about before. That's a really good thing to network for as well. So there's lots of who's in this scenario. Who am I missing? What kind of who's aren't on here? Anybody that you need or you're thinking of wanting to find? What kinds of people? Yes.
Like a key influence or key opinion.
Ooh, that's a good one. What kind of business are you doing?
Or like bio track.
Okay, so you need someone to be a champion, to tout your product, to talk about how
Not
awesome it
just
is?
anyone, but maybe someone with a publication record that when they are a champion, people will take it on their own.
Yep. I think you just coined a good phrase for networking in general, not just anyone, the right someone. Who else? Who did I forget? What other who's? Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking of people in the industry that maybe know secrets that you don't know, because some industries are a little bit closed. You don't know all the information.
Yeah.
And you need some of that information. You need to find the right person who is maybe retired from that company and willing to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of a mentor was mentioned up here. Someone who knows the ins and outs of the industry and maybe can save you from making some of the mistakes. And I find that people that have been successful, they often want to look behind them and say, oh, I spent a year figuring that out. Let me tell you what I did wrong, so that maybe that can be helpful. And you'll find a lot, I think, in the startup community that there's these little like hyper-focused little neighborhoods and areas that, there'll be a food group, or there'll be a fashion design group, and those are great things to be a part of, because you can kind of learn what you don't know. Yeah, that's a good one. Yes, Matthew.
Maybe like a strategic partner that's normally very gate kept.
Oh yeah, like hard to access.
You can't, if you stalk them appropriately.
Yeah, if you've stalked them before. We're going to talk a little bit about that aspirational stalking in a minute.
I mean, I think anymore now.
Yeah.
That you meet someone in business, you're on their Facebook, you're trying to figure out what they like, you're trying to find a common
Yeah.
interest, and you can meet with something.
Yeah, a gatekeeper, absolutely.
They're hard to test.
They're hard to get to. Yeah, hard to find and hard to get past. And even the first part of that, maybe you're just partners in general. If you're doing something and you'd like to partner with someone on it, how do you find those people? Yes.
You say partner, because I always think of partnering in terms of having possibly equity.
Yeah.
What's the alternative to that?
So the question was, what kind of partner do you mean? There's the partner that you bring on board that maybe you're a co-founder with and you give equity to. That's one kind of partner. When I was just saying partner, I was thinking, for instance, at Brazen, we have a we don't like to call it a scholarship program because it's not really that, but it's like a free year membership program. So we are able to have a little bit of funding. Not much of our funding is from donors, but we do have people who want to support the organization. We have a bucket of money that we can give away free memberships for. Now, you think that wouldn't be hard? Like, hi, free memberships, have them. No, to find the right partners is really tricky. So I was thinking almost of a partnership that you might engage in to like bring something to market, or who's the right kind of partner to give away my free memberships, or who's the right kind of partner to get my product in their stores even. So that's what I was thinking about when I was talking about like a strategic partner. But a partner in business is something else too. Yeah, that's a much bigger decision than like a partner that I'm just going to work on this event with, because it fits both of us. But both of those things you have to get out of your basement to meet them, right? Anything else? So we're going to get into the stalking part of the conversation here now a little bit, which is fun. I like to think of people in my network, or people that I want to have in my network, via a couple of degrees of separation. So I think of them as first degree contacts, second degree contacts, and aspirational contacts. So who do you think are your first degree contacts? As I take another sip. First degree contacts. Friends, yeah.
Coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
Client,
Pardon?
client,
Clients. Friends, partners, clients, neighbors, people on the school board. Everybody sitting next to you. Y'all are each other's first degree contacts now. Yes, people that you know, they're waving. People that you know, people that you can say hello to, you know their business, you know their, if you're friends, you know their life. They're really easy to access. You can ask them for a favor, you can sit down and have a chat with them. They're very accessible to you. So that's the easiest kind of contact, and we all have a lot of those. The important filter, I think, to put contacts through is, are they helpful towards your end goal? So my neighbor might be awesome. If I'm trying to reach funders and she doesn't know anyone and is not one, then she's just a nice neighbor. She's not really a first degree contact for the purposes of my networking. Does that make sense? So the thing you wrote down that you were needing when we started, kind of put all of these contacts through that filter. Are they the right person to engage in your network to get that resource that you need? So first degree contacts are the easiest. Second degree contacts are just one removed from that. So your coworker's spouse, your friend's parents, your parents' friends, your neighbor's dog walker. You can get to them, but it would take an introduction, or it would take an ask, or it would take another step. These two are really easy. So we'll talk a little bit about how to get your story down, how to ask for help. I encourage you to not forget about your second degree contacts. So if you're building a food business and you remember that your cousin's husband has had a career with Sarah Lee, that's a good second degree contact. Ooh, I can ask that question and get in touch with that person who directly serves my need. Aspirational contacts are people that you need, information that you need, but you do not know them and you do not have any contact with them. You would need to stalk them.
That's what I wrote down, as one of those.
Yes, yes.
I didn't know that's what you were going to
Yeah, we can call it a lot of things. People I need to stalk, a list maybe, although you might not want to put that down. But yeah, this is really something, so I have an educational software and I need to meet the superintendent of schools. I don't know who that is. Or I think I might want to get into financial management if I'm just thinking about my career and networking for my career. I don't know any of those people. I need to meet some so that I know if that's a career path I want to go down. This comes in with the influencers too. Maybe I'm writing motivational books and I love reading Brene Brown, so I'd really like to meet her. Extra points if you know who Brene Brown is. Oh yay, lots of hoots. Love it. I just bought her new book. I can't wait to read it. So yeah, it's someone that you know that would help you for whatever reason and you don't know how to get to them, so they're an aspirational contact. I like to think of aspirational contacts in a couple of different ways because they don't necessarily have to be a person. They might be, I want to meet the mayor because I need her to do this, or I need her to give me this information. So it could very well be a person. It might also be a position. Doesn't matter who the person is, but I need to meet the CFO at blah, 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 at the 10 biggest companies in St. Louis. I don't care who they are, but I need to meet that level of person. Or it could just be someone in an industry. We talked a little bit before about networking within your industry to learn. It could just be, I need to learn a lot. I need to meet 5 people in this industry. Of course, nothing's going to mind. But so it could be either an industry that you need to get to know, a job position or a title that would be influential for you, or an actual person. Does that make sense? How it can be, it doesn't have to be a person, it can be any combination of those things. I think it's always helpful to have an idea of who your aspirational contacts might be. I think it is very powerful to speak them out loud because you never know who's in the room. The folks you guys are ad nauseum, I've told this story, but it's such a good example of aspirational contacts. I was doing kind of a networking thing for high school students, and we were talking about how do you figure out what career you want, and networking and meeting people and telling your story is part of that. So we kind of went around the room and talked about aspirational contacts, and this great kiddo said, I really want to be a video game designer. I saw this guy on the news and he seems really cool and he's got his own company here in St. Louis and he would be my aspirational contact. And then we broke for pizza over lunch, and I happened, because I'm in the startup community, happened to know the guy I was talking about, got on the phone, called him up, and when we came back from lunch, I was like, Jamal, you'll never guess, I just talked to Sam, and he wants your email address, because he's going to show you his shop and how he designs his videos. And the kid was like, oh my God. But it was a perfect example of if you don't let people know what you need, you might miss out on something. There might be someone in this room that has a connection to the person that you want to meet, or the type of person that you want to meet. So don't underestimate those aspirational contacts. It seems very far, that's why we call them aspirational, but it could be just one conversation. It could be just a really quick leap, and suddenly you have that you need. Does anybody want to venture to tell us what aspirational contact? Yes, Matthew.
Can I say, because I've tried very hard to.
Okay.
I have a strategic partner that does not know about me, but I definitely need them.
Okay.
Maybe 25 voicemails throughout their company, maybe 15 emails over the last month of response.
Okay.
I need them. Obviously, they're not interested, but that doesn't matter. Like, can I go as far as send them out of the wall? Like, if I go.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. Is there this? Can you tell us who it is?
Yeah, the company is called Future Vault, and they have a component of my design that I don't want to design myself.
Ah, that's a
They
good
are-
strategic
I
partner.
don't want to redesign the wheel, and I just want them to let them use their software in some capacity.
Yeah. So that's not even one person. It's an
They
organization.
have a sales team, so there's
Yeah.
5 people on the
Did we have something on the side of the room?
Yeah, well, I don't have contact.
Well, unfortunately.
Wait, are you a LinkedIn user?
Yeah,
How many contacts do you have on LinkedIn?
they're all my regular business, they're not my tech business. I don't know, maybe 500.
That's a good number. So you should actually feed in the name of the company that you're trying to target, right? Into LinkedIn. It'll identify who in your network can introduce you and how many leads.
That,
to that
and
person.
I think the issue is that they're in Montreal, and I'm here, and all my contacts are local.
Go to Montreal. No, I
Well,
I think LinkedIn is a really good resource.
You'd be surprised how powerful 500 contacts are.
Yeah.
You're not going to get there in maybe one lead, but if you can 2 leads, that's the power. They say everyone in the world is hooked up at 6 degrees of separation, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever.
And that's why this works, is because of that. I don't know about the distance between here and Montreal, but one thing that I think, technology can help us a lot. I think that in-person thing is really important too. So one thing that I suggest to people usually is there a place where these people are? So is there an industry conference? Is there an association? Can you hang out outside their office building in Montreal? I don't know. Maybe it's worth that to you. But usually there's probably like an industry conference. There's some kind of thinker thing that they all go to, and you can bump into people there and then have a real conversation. Yeah. But are they part of an industry that they might be? There's something that people go to.
The key issue is, getting a warm introduction from somebody obviously makes a huge difference as opposed to jumping.
Yeah. Quentin's got something.
I often suggest people not just go to those conferences, but call the organizer and volunteer.
Yeah,
Because
great idea.
Conference organizer is always looking for help. And if you can volunteer work at the table or something.
Hang out by the registration
it's really
table?
great.
Yeah.
It's a really great way to meet people. The other thing is, I'll say that I am not above just showing up at a place.
I am not above
There are many times in my career so far where I've been like, oh, I'm going to be in New York next week, and I'm not.
Yep.
But if they say they'll meet me, I'm in New York next week.
Yes.
So,
Excellent. Yeah, that's really good. And I find that just networking in general, we kind of joked about it, but I believe in hanging out by the registration table because everyone's first and last name is right there and you can see them right when they walk in and stalk them from that. So,
Tara Kinney, who presented earlier, she's a master of looking trade shows.
oh yeah, she's good at that.
And she'll find out which person in an organization she needs, and let's just say everybody in that position has a yellow name tag. She'll then go stand in line at Starbucks and chat up everybody with a yellow name tag. She's run up $100 and $200 coffee bill because she'll just keep going through the line, pouring out the coffee and getting back in line. And have meetings set up by the time she's done going through it. So it's
I think people underestimate that shoe leather stuff, right? Like the scrappy showing up at the office saying, I'm going to be in town, can I stop by, standing in the Starbucks line. It doesn't work for everybody, and it doesn't work all the time. But neither does LinkedIn or social media. So I would suggest a combination of, there's a little bit of hustle and a little bit of strategy, and I think both are really good. And that's not suited for everybody. Matthew might have no problem showing up at someone's front door, not their home front door, their office front door, their vacation home. Get friendly with their dog. No. Yeah. Swing by your neighborhood.
I see your kids at the park.
Right. Exactly. We talk a lot about, there's another presentation I give where I talk about like researching contacts if you're informational interviewing. If you're informational interviewing as you're researching contacts. And yes, knowing what they published and where they went to college is great. Knowing where they vacation and where their kids go to school is not so much. So yeah, there's a line. Harry, what did you have to say?
I was just going to say, I just tried that. So I've got 30 contacts in Future Vault if I go out these steps. Okay.
There you go.
You're a good one.
Online, in person. So this really falls right into, the who kind of falls into the when and where. So depending on who you want to find, you'll then get to when and where do you do that, right? There's lots of places in St. Louis. There's probably lots of places in Montreal. Some of these some of them you might not. Depending on what you need, there's going to be something for you. It's just a matter of finding the right place and doing a little research to make sure it's a good use of your time. These are only a few of what are going on in St. Louis, and some of this might even be a little bit old. I see some people taking lots of notes. Any questions about any of these organizations or good places to connect? Okay. The tricky part is there's a lot of places to connect, right? You can be somewhere every night that probably has free food and an open bar, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily making good use of your time. So especially if you are a business owner, if you have a goal of growing your business, and if you're getting traction on growing your business, it becomes harder and harder and harder to get to stuff networking. There's places that I used to go every week that I haven't been in a year and a half because I'm just too damn busy building my business. That's too far the other way. You have to kind of balance it a little bit, but I encourage you to be a discerning networker. And I think how you do that is really knowing your goals, what you wrote down, your goals and what you want to learn, who you want to meet and what resources you're looking for, and then figuring out where those people are. There's a lot of research that can be done or a lot of questions that can be asked to your peers. This is what I need, where should I be? Or I've heard of this event, is it worth my couple of hours to go there during an evening? So I encourage you to try something once and do keep an open mind, but do your research and ask people around you. Any thoughts on how people have been discerning about their networking? Does anyone feel overwhelmed by the amount of places you can be? I feel like that a lot. I'm like, I just can't get all these places and I don't know. I'm sure some of them are really worth my time, but I just don't know where to be. Yes?
I was going to say, do you have advice on etiquette too when you do get people reaching out to you for coffee, or even like recently I was at a Chamber of Commerce lunch and one of the ladies sort of took it upon herself and she emailed like 7 people and copied me and said, hey, you should meet Stacy. And I just didn't really know how to reply. So I'm just wondering
Yes.
like, if you have like the best sort of...
Yeah. That is like such a can of worms, right?
I mean, you just want to... Yeah.
Networking etiquette. So are you asking, just to narrow it down a little bit, someone has reached out to you, or you're wanting to reach out to someone?
Someone reaches out to you.
Someone reaches out to you.
Coffee, I would love to meet you, and you want to say as politely as possible, like, that you
Yeah.
can already tell that you're not
Yes.
really...
I have a trick for that.
Like Rodanic Fields or something.
Oh gosh, yes. I have a trick for that. Before I give you my trick, I will say that it is absolutely up to you to be discerning in your networking and to be discerning on the meetings that you take. Coffees can be very valuable. They can also be a huge suck on your time. The hard thing is that you don't always know. I've gone to meetings where I'm driving there and I'm stressed and I'm going, oh my gosh, why did I take this meeting? And it's been great. And I almost skipped it. I almost rescheduled it and it's been like, that's the person I needed to talk to. So it's a little bit of art and a little bit of science. It depends also what position you're in. I'm usually very blunt when I talk about networking, and I say that there's usually a power up and a power down position. So you're either asking for someone's time or you're the person being asked for their time, right? Yes, Wendy?
You talk about when you are asking for someone.
Yes.
First of all, ask, can you talk about how that messaging can be most effective?
Yes.
To get someone to pay attention.
Yes, pull me back if I don't get to that. I'm going to finish with this thought first. I think if you are the person that's being asked for a lot of coffee meetings, try to control that as much as, I mean, that's a great thing. If you built your business to the place where people are really wanting to meet with you, that's a great thing. And if that's happening a lot, you have the ability to control that, right? So sometimes I'll block, 3 hours on my calendar every Thursday afternoon, and I'm just going to be at this coffee shop. And I'm able to say, sure, pick a time from this window. Or maybe you have an office, and I have people come to my office now, which I didn't used to do before. I spent a lot of time on coffee. If you know it is likely not worth your time, and you really, really, really don't want to take the meeting, there is nothing wrong with being honest and saying, I don't have time for a lot of extra meetings right now, and just kind of leaving it at that. It was very nice to meet you at that event. I appreciate the introduction. I'm finding that I don't have a lot of extra time for meetings right now. Sometimes if I'm not sure, I try not to shut things down entirely, although sometimes it's necessary. Kind of a trick that I've learned is that I will start with that message. We're in a big pivot period in my business. I am super busy and don't have a lot of time in my calendar. I'm gonna free up about the end of November. Would you get back to me then and we'll schedule something? So you really have put the onus on the other person. And if it's that valuable to them and they do follow up the third week of November, I'm all over it because that's awesome and I'll talk to them then. So that's a way to kind of manage it a little bit better. These like mass emails that are like, y'all should meet each other. That's not great email etiquette. It's not great networking etiquette. It can be really frustrating, so I hear that. And I think if there's a person that does that a lot, they're starting to weaken their networking capital. I can think of some people that do that a lot to me, and I'm kind of like, they've weakened their networking capital in my eyes because they're not good resources, they're not good introductions. I can't even keep up with it anymore, and I start to feel a little bit disrespected that I'm just like getting puked on all these resources. So be wary of that, and there are a couple tips for like managing that incoming. I'm a big fan of like transparency and be honest. I don't have time right now, I'm so sorry. I wish you good luck. Or sometimes I'll have like I'll write a great article in like Entrepreneur Magazine. And I'll be like, I don't have time to talk about that right now. I'm really busy, but here's a great article I just found. Or here's a good website that I always go to for resources like that. And then you haven't brushed them off entirely, you've given them a little something. The question was how to be a good networker outwards. So you're asking for someone. That's usually done, and we can talk a lot more about this because you could talk about it forever. That's usually done via email. It's best if you can get a warm introduction. We were saying before, if you know someone who knows someone, you could say, would you mind introducing us? But if I'm reaching out cold, I'll probably do that about twice. I don't do it a lot more than twice just because that's not really my personality. Of course, I've never been like stalking a strategic partner. I think you should keep going, Matthew. But I'll always say, so-and-so mentioned I get in touch with you, or I came across your name, I noticed that you're speaking on a panel, so give some context, and then say, I would love to talk with you a little bit about X, Y, and Z. So you're giving them further context about what you're needing. I see you're in St. Louis. I would love to stop by your office at a time that's convenient for you. Always offer to go to them. If you're in the power down position, always offer to go to them. Always offer to go to their office if that seems reasonable. You'd be surprised how many other people you just meet in the hallways. I've been in talking with people in their office and they're like, oh, you got to meet so-and-so. And they'll drag me down, and suddenly, just this morning, I went to meet with one person and I've suddenly got a conference room of 6 people. And I was like an hour late for my next thing, and then we were just talking. It just turned into this big thing. So always offer to go to them. Give them a couple. I'm usually freest on Wednesdays and Friday mornings. That's become a big thing for me. Start the conversation as far as scheduling with something, because you've just saved everybody one email. So if you reach out to them and you don't mention anything about, I'm freest on these days, then they have to come back to you and say, that'd be great, when are you available? And then you're this blah, blah, blah. So think about making it easy and efficient and convenient for them, and always give them context. I'm a big fan, and I've just started doing this, of when someone asks me to connect them with someone. So we do a lot of events. We're very protective of our experts. So if we have a panel or if we have an expert come in, we're pretty protective of their contact information. They've done us a favor, and we say, you give it out if you want, but we'll be careful of just not like giving it out to everybody. So someone asked me about a program that we did a couple months ago. I'd really like to connect with blah, blah, blah. Can you give me her email address? I have a standard email that I give back that I say, really protective of our experts that volunteer their time with us. If you'd like to draft her a little bit of a note and give her your contact information, I would be happy to forward that along. And then it's her decision whether or not she wants to get back. Unfortunately, the person responded to me and said, sure, here's my cell phone, please give it to her. Why would I say to this person who spent their time, here's Susie's phone number, call her? Like, that doesn't make any sense for anyone in this situation. So I did go back again and I said, give me some context. Let me have some context for her. So I do really believe that when you're doing that kind of a networking email, I know you from, I saw you at, I want to ask you, give a lot of context, because it just makes it so much easier for them to respond. If I don't know what you want, like, hey, want to get coffee? No, I have no idea what you need. 10 minutes. That is like, both of those questions could go on forever. Inc. magazine does a lot of good stuff about networking. The Muse Daily is a good resource. They tweet and they have a website that does a lot of, I think it's the Muse, and then the Twitter is Muse Daily. But they do a lot about like, how do you do that? What kind of emails do you write? It's a really, really good resource. If I'm trying to think of somewhere to go, there's something on the calendar and I'm like, do I really want to go there? I'm first thinking about this stuff. What do I want to learn? But I put stuff through this filter. Is it a good place to connect with people? So there are people there that I need to know, or does it have good content? So there's something there that I need to learn. Of course, right, the best would be right in the middle and have both good contact and good connections. But that's not always the case. So sometimes I'll go to something, maybe I don't really care about the topic, or I already know it, but I know there's a lot of women entrepreneurs there and that's my market. So I'm gonna go because that's good connecting for me. Or maybe I'm not sure who's gonna be there, but I really need to know about how to use Salesforce better. So I'm gonna go to that. So hopefully it's both, but it's not always gonna be both. So think about, who do I need to connect with? What do I need to learn? You can find out a lot online. If you're not sure, ask people and do research online. But if you're on the Venture Cafe website, to use this as an example, you can find out what they're about. You can look at their upcoming events and say, do I care about any of those? Are there people giving the presentations that I want to meet? Maybe I don't really even care what they're talking about, but I want to meet them. You can find out a lot. They're writing stuff on their blog. There's a lot of ways to follow them on social media, find out what people are doing, do your research online before you go make a use of your time. How do you do it is important, obviously. You're really telling a story when you're networking. You're telling the story of your business, you're telling the story of yourself. That's almost why I don't like the term networking, because it seems so transactional. Really, it's all about your messaging and how you message yourself, your business, and what you need. We call this a pitch, right? You do pitches in here. You'll talk a lot about your pitch as you're building your business. Sometimes it's a lot of coffee. But sometimes it's just really being ready when you meet someone at a networking event and you shake their hand, you know what to say. I use this formula, I call this my pitch pie. This is not the end, pardon?
No, that's great.
Oh, great. This is not the end all and be all. It moves around. You might have different sections, but I want to go through this really quickly. This is what I believe is the best way to kind of frame your message. We're going to talk about introduction, problem, solution, benefits, and ask. So the introduction is, that's you. Hi, my name's Aimee. I'm here from Brazen Global. Generally, it's not too long because you only have a little bit of window. If your credentials are important, sometimes that might be something that you want to include. If you're at an alumni event, hey, I'm Aimee. I'm working in St. Louis. I went to University of Iowa. That's good context. If I'm at a University of Iowa networking event, I am a Hawkeye. So that's a little bit about you. It's usually pretty brief. You want to be able to position the problem you're solving, the problem your business is solving. You probably started your business because you noticed a gap in the market, right? You noticed something was needed. So what is the problem you are solving? What is your solution to that problem? So being able to say that really concisely, really clearly, And then the thing that people care about the most is, why is your solution better? So what is the benefit of your solution? You have a tech website. It connects people. Lots of tech websites connect people. What do you do differently? What is the benefit? What makes me want to stop in my tracks and say, I need to be a client? So really, really, really think about what that benefit is. Whenever you're networking, always have an ask. This is the part that people forget, either because they don't know what to ask, or they're too nervous, or they think it's not their place to ask someone for something. If you've left a conversation or you've left a networking event and you have not asked, you've missed an opportunity. You are not going to say, I need $1 million, will you give it to me? That is not the ask that you make when you first meet someone. Hopefully that will come, maybe, in a good networking relationship. But have something in mind that you need. What did you do when you first hired a lawyer? I'm really enjoying this evening tonight. Are there other things like this that I should be a part of? I really like what's going on here, but I need to talk to somebody really in the food industry. Is there a networking event like this in the food industry? Where did you learn how to? At the very least, have you read anything interesting that's interesting lately? What's your favorite blog? What do you never miss in St. Louis? Have something to cap the conversation, connect you to that person, and in the best of situations, you've gained some information that you need. Can anybody think of an ask that they would ask someone? I hope everybody can. What would you ask somebody that you met to grow your business? Yes?
I always ask for a subsequent introduction.
Okay.
That person has a key relationship, and the introduction from that means more than from me.
Pardon, say the last part?
So if the person that I'm asking for an introduction has a better relationship with the introduction
Okay.
than I do, and it needs a more substantial
Step for you.
sort of,
Yeah.
contact.
Do you always ask for an introduction on the first meeting?
No.
Okay. That's awesome. Sometimes you know someone that can introduce you to sometimes it's just, do you know anybody who? I really need someone who, do you know someone? What else? Good asks. Everyone leave here tonight, go home, make a list of at least 5 things that you need to ask. Have them in your back pocket. Have them at the ready. Don't leave the conversation without an ask. And if you think of them beforehand and you have a list in mind, you won't even need to worry about it. It'll be right there at the top of your head. I've had many situations where it hasn't been evident at first, and I've said something. I've asked something. What's your next event? What are you working on? What's your biggest challenge right now? You've had something. What are you reading? What did I miss? What's your favorite book? And it's connected the conversation enough that I can come back and make something of it if I need to. So never leave without an ask. This might move around or change depending on your who. So if you're looking for a mentor, some of that discussion might be different. If you're looking for a team member, some of that discussion might be different. If you're looking for an investor, if you're just looking for a supporter, if you're looking for someone, just tell people about my product. That's going to be really different, and you might need different parts. It should be simple. This is one of my favorite quotes. If you can't say it in a couple of sentences, you don't understand it well enough, and there's no way the person you're talking to is going to understand it. You have to be able to say it, you as the business owner, you as the idea person. Your grandma understands it, your 5-year-old nephew understands it, your dog understands it. Simple, simple, simple. Because then I can have it here and leave with it and help you later. Yes?
What is a good way, I mean, I'm asking in a weird way, but what would you suggest to someone who doesn't know how to get connected with people who are outside of your state, outside of your region? If you don't want to just network locally.
Yes. If you don't want to network locally, how do you get outside of your state and region? LinkedIn can do that. Attend a conference in another state. Ask people. So one of the things that we believe in building at Brazen is a network. So that if I'm selling to high-end boutiques, and there's only a couple here in St. Louis, I have Brazen colleagues in Denver, in Chicago, in Nashville, and I can say, give me the name of the 5 high-end boutiques there. So find those places, ask those questions and find those places. That's my quick answer since I know I'm running out of time. A couple tips. We talked already, have a goal for why you're there. Know why you're there, do your research. Have a plan. Know your story. You've already worked on your pitch. Work on making your pitch modular. This is important. You know the pieces, you know those pies and maybe a couple extra wedges. If you're talking to someone and you realize, ooh, they're maybe an investor. I don't want to talk so much about my personal history maybe, but I want to talk about the bottom line of my company and why customers love it. So I'm going to put away a wedge and I'm going to bring out a wedge that talks about the financials of my company or how much money I'm raising and what I'm going to use it for. Maybe I've got the financial wedge in there and I realize that I'm talking to a potential customer. They don't care so much. I'm going to talk to them about the benefits of my product and where they can find it. So you have all these pieces that if you've practiced and you know them well enough, you can adjust on the fly. So I think that's and you get better at it as you go, but that's a really important part of telling your story. You can adjust depending on who you're talking to or who you find yourself in front of, because you might not always know. Give context for what you do and why you're there. Ask lots of questions. I think if you meet someone and everything you've learned about networking and storytelling flies out of your brain, be cool. Like, be authentic, be genuine, be someone who someone wants to talk to again. That is most important. Don't be a jerk. The bottom line of our value and mission and work statement at Brazen is we don't work with assholes. We work too hard. We spend too much time doing what we love. We're not going to work with jerks. I don't want to network with jerks either. So watch the kind of be confident but don't be arrogant kind of thing. If I'm talking to you and you're arrogant, why am I talking to you? You don't need me. Go talk to somebody else. So don't be a jerk. Try to be authentic. It's hard because you're trying to be like, I know my business and I want you to invest in me, or I want you to be my client, or I want you to partner with me. So I'm going to like tell you that I'm awesome, but there's a line there. I hope that makes sense. I just talk about that a lot when I talk to teenagers. What's the difference between confidence and arrogance? But I think you guys get it. Do not be a jerk. Yay, we might have like 2 seconds for questions. That's what I know about networking. That's my contact information. Question here and then question back there, and we'll try to go fast.
So what kind of questions you can ask investors?
Oh, what kind of questions can you ask investors? You're going to answer their questions. They're going to ask, so when you're first meeting them, you might say, what industry do you invest in? What size investments do you usually make? What are you looking for in your investment portfolio? So you're educating yourself a lot on what kind of investments they make and what they do. If you're not in front of an actual investor, but you're trying to like find investors, you ask those questions of other people. I'm working in this field. Who do you know? I'm raising this amount of money. I think I'm going to use it for this. Who do you know in this sector that's making those kinds of investments? Where should I be? Quentin has some feedback.
Investment specifically, like always leave it open to, are you looking for an investment or do you know someone who is this type of investment? Because a lot of times an investor might not be looking right then,
Yep.
but you might be talking to them and investors know each other. So just leave that open.
And then when you sit down with them, they're just going to ask you questions and you got to be ready to answer them. Yes.
I was just kind of wondering how you really navigate when you see the picture you showed, tons of people. I get so nervous. I don't even want to go in that room. And then there's always all this alcohol that's being provided. And how does alcohol, because I find that I shouldn't drink at a networking event. Honestly.
That's a good realization. Yeah.
Of danger is alcohol.
Yes.
So how does that play in?
I think so kudos to you for saying, I'm nervous about networking. My first instinct might be to go to the bar, but I know that that's not a good idea. So kudos to you for that. That's awesome. Because a lot of these events are very lubricated, right? Mm-hmm. So that's important. You don't, under the don't be a jerk thing, like, yeah. I am a big fan of hang out by the name tag table, by the check-in table, because that's where people are coming, in and out. One of the best tips I ever heard was if you're in a networking event and you're nervous, watch the perimeter of the room, because that's where people who are also nervous hang out. And so if you see someone by themselves, they look nervous, you go over and say, hi, I'm Aimee. I'm here to learn more about blah, 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 blah. You've made them comfortable. Suddenly they're your best friend because you've saved them from their own nervousness. And then you can kind of go together. I think it's also sometimes interesting. A lot of people ask me if you want to break into this group that's all talking and you can't like get in there. Mm-hmm. As people come and go to the bar or the bathroom, that's a great way to kind of like sidle up to like, hey. So you're catching. If you're nervous, you're probably not going to bust into a big group of people talking. So you look for lonely. It's kind of like you're hunting your prey. Look for folks that are undefended. On that note, geez,
Be kind to your prey.
be kind to your prey.
Thank you.